I just want to take this time to say thank you for being here today. You took time away from your busy schedule, so I really appreciate that. And welcome to A Path to Wellness. And of course, when it comes to our health and wellness journey, there's many paths that we can take. So when I put together this presentation, I kept in mind those individuals that are beginning that journey, as well as individuals that may have been on this journey of improving their health for a while. So I have some great information to share with you today. So with that, we can go ahead and get started. And if you have any questions as we're going through, please put your questions in the chat, and those questions will be addressed, but we should also have time for questions and answers toward the end. So this right here is a picture of my daughter when she was about 2 years old. I believe she was 1 on the picture to the right and 2, the picture on top. And when I came across this picture, I really thought about how much I've influenced her, especially when it comes to her own personal health and wellness. And it made me really think about how I've been influenced when it comes to my personal health and wellness. And when it comes to everyone's health and wellness, we're actually influenced by genetics as well as environmental factors before we're even born. And it's just so important that we understand those influences. And when I talk about environmental factors, I'm referring to things such as just from the toxins in the air that we breathe, as well as products that we use, furniture that's in our house. We are breathing in toxins or surrounded by toxins that can have an impact on our health. So today and just moving forward, I want you to think about who has influenced your health, how has it been influenced, and was that the best influence, or is that the best influence, and what you can do to make changes for better health. So I'll just stop there and move a little further into the presentation by sharing a few things about myself. I was actually born and raised in Seattle, Washington. When I graduated high school, moved to Georgia. I actually went to college in Augusta, Georgia, which is a couple of hours away. I lived in Atlanta, Georgia for several years, and I currently live in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I am a certified functional nutrition counselor, as well as a board certified holistic health practitioner. And I'm also a former trainer. Just a few things about me. I love to read. I love to learn new things and get good information. Listening to music is really important to me. I find it to be very calming. And I love to watch Netflix when I have an opportunity. And I often get the question now, Netflix or Amazon. I definitely prefer Netflix, and we don't really have time to go into that, but Netflix for sure. Going to the beach, taking nature walks, just getting out in nature, enjoying the sun, the breeze, and just all of my surroundings. And most importantly, I love to spend time with family and friends. So what we'll cover today, I'm going to talk a little bit about taking charge of your health, simple diet changes that will increase your energy, incorporating exercise into your weekly routine, and steps you can take to have more restful sleep, and then close it out with managing stress for a positive change. Before I get into that, I want to talk a little bit about functional nutrition and functional medicine, because when I tell people I'm a certified functional nutrition counselor, they nod and they say, okay, they understand the nutrition part, but what do I mean by functional? Functional is just pretty much saying that we all are unique. So it's about bio-individuality. What works well for one person does not necessarily work for the next. So it's taking that holistic approach to helping individuals begin that process of healing and restoring the body. And the goal in functional nutrition too is also to bridge that gap in our healthcare system. When you look at the United States conventional medicine, it's really failing people because it doesn't really focus on preventative care. And I want to just say I have great respect for doctors and all medical staff. I have family that are in the medical field, but just the way our system is designed, people are not getting the care that they need. And I have a question for you. I'd like you to put this in the chat. If you've had this experience where you're not feeling well, you have some ache or pain, you go to the doctor will ask you questions about the symptoms you're having. You may or may not get a prescription, and you may or may not get a diagnosis. You may be told to take something over the counter, but you walk away, you go home, and you ask yourself, well, I'm really not sure what's wrong with me. What could be going on? Why do I need this medication? Have you ever been in that type of situation going to the doctor? If so, if you could put in the chat yes for me, and I'll give you a moment to do that.
All right, so Nancy Wolf says yes. Lisa says yes for years. And Tiffany Hunter, she says yes. And Miley Davila, many times. And Al says yes, he has. Kathy says yes. So seems like quite a few people dealing with this, Katina.
Yes, yes. And I can relate. I have been there as well. So that's really a goal of functional nutrition, to bridge that gap, to be able to work with doctors from the functional side, preventative, and just helping clients have just better health overall. And basically, when you look at this diagram here, what we do, we assess, we recommend, and track, and pretty much looking at things such as genetics, family history, lifestyle, from environmental factors to stress, as well as diet and exercise, and also taking into consideration a person's labs as well. So it's that holistic approach to really helping individuals improve their health. I want to share just a few statistics with you that I believe are really important, and many people are not that familiar with autoimmune disease, but there's over 100 autoimmune diseases out there according to the Autoimmune Association, and 80% of all patients diagnosed with autoimmune disease are women. And researchers, they're not sure exactly why. They believe genetics plays a role in this, as well as environmental factors, but they're still studying this. They're not completely clear on why people are affected by this and why the numbers continue to rise. But basically what happens with autoimmune disease, so when you think about our immune system is all over our body. So we have a natural defense system. So when something foreign invades, our cells go to work to attack that. So what's basically happening, our normal cells are actually mistakenly attacking itself pretty much. So that causes the autoimmune disease or autoimmune diseases that are out there. And I'm sharing just a few of the common ones you'll find out there, such as rheumatoid arthritis, where you have pain, swelling, and stiffness in your joints and other parts of your body. Inflammatory bowel disease, not to be confused with IBS, two different things. One is a syndrome and one is a disease. And under IBD, inflammatory bowel disease, you have ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, which is inflammation of the digestive tract. There's also lupus, multiple sclerosis, type 1 diabetes, which is found in adolescents. Basically, the body doesn't make insulin or makes very little insulin. You have psoriasis, which is a skin condition. Hashimoto's disease is a thyroid condition. Fibromyalgia, where you have pain all over your body. And vitiligo, where you lose pigment cells. And you probably saw the picture, I'll go back real quick, of the beautiful young lady here. She has vitiligo. So that's what's happening with that particular autoimmune disease. But before I go on, if you could put in the chat, if you know anyone that has any of these types of diseases I've mentioned here, or any other autoimmune disease. If so, if you could put yes in the chat for me. Okay, I see quite a few people saying yes here. And I know many people that have these diseases, and they've gone through a lot having these types of diseases. So I want to move right into taking charge of your health. And this for me is very important. It is so important that you take charge of your health. I meet so many people that leave it in the hands of the doctors, and our doctors are here to support us, but you're responsible for your health. You're responsible for asking those questions. When I've talked to clients, they don't really understand what the doctor has communicated to them, why they're taking a drug, how long they have to be on the drug. So just make sure you ask questions when you're going to the doctor. Get a list of questions together. If you're not clear on something, ask away. That is your responsibility, and doctors are there to answer those questions. And also have your doctors explain your labs to you. With technology today, sometimes that can get missed, where you get results and that's it, and you don't get any feedback. And that doesn't happen, or it hasn't happened to me often, but it has happened. So making sure you have your doctor explain the labs to you is so important. Getting a second opinion, I often recommend this because I've had situations where I've asked doctors questions and I just wanted to know the answer and have an understanding of myself for myself, but I didn't get the response I needed. So I just made a decision to find another doctor altogether. Also consider alternative practitioners for your health goals, such as functional or integrative medicine doctors that take that holistic approach. And with integrative medicine doctors, they tend to incorporate more different modalities such as massage therapy, maybe chiropractic care. Some even use yoga, herbs, and different things in their practice. And I personally have a naturopathic doctor that I use in addition to my primary care doctor when I really need my doctor to go really deep to figure out what could be happening in my body. But those are just some things that you can do. And I always say, be the captain of your health and don't leave that up to anyone, because you have that ability and that right to do that. So number 2, I want to talk about eating healthy. And of course, we all know we're supposed to eat healthy. There are some things, though, that you can do to begin to just feel better, feel more energized. I start with sugar because sugar is in so many of our products today, in sugary drinks such as sodas, juices, and fruit waters, even in things like Gatorade. Those types of drinks are full of sugar. And I've noticed, too, I sometimes drink coconut water for electrolytes to get my electrolytes in, especially if I feel very depleted. And I'm seeing where there's added sugar in coconut water, which is already sweet. So just making sure you're reading labels. When you look buy packaged foods, you want to look for added sugars. You have sugar unnecessarily in things such as ketchup, barbecue sauce, dressings. It's really everywhere, and you want to do your best to begin to eliminate these things from your diet because they're leading to obesity as well as type 2 diabetes. Hydrogenated fats have been linked to serious disease such as heart disease. And when I say hydrogenated fats, I'm talking about corn oil, canola oils, sunflower oil, safflower oil, your vegetable oils. These things clog your arteries and just cause problems in your body, especially, once again, leading to things such as heart disease. So you want to do your best by reading food labels. Even when you eat out at restaurants, they're using these types of oils. So be mindful of that when you go out to eat. And you'll find a lot of hydrogenated fats in packaged foods, especially like desserts and that sort of thing. So make sure that you're reading the different food labels. Your refined carbs, such as your white bread, white pasta, those have been linked to overeating and obesity. So you want to also begin to eliminate those things from your diet. Processed and charred meats can increase your risk of cancer. And when I talk about processed meats, I'm referring to things such as your lunch meats, hot dogs, bologna. These things have nitrites and nitrates in them. And your charred meats, when you're grilling, just making sure that you're not charring the meat because these things have been known to increase your risk of cancer. And then also what I call slip phrases. You're fat-free, low-fat, reduced fat, low calorie. They have additives for taste and other things that should not be in there, especially you'll see a lot of artificial sweetener in these types of products. So once again, learning to read food labels and be mindful of these types of phrases as you're shopping and going grocery shopping. Okay, the next area I want to talk about is getting plenty of sleep. Sleep is so important, and I often think of sleep this way. So you have an automobile and you fill up your car with gas for the week. Say it's a Sunday. So during the week, you're going back and forth to work. You may have children, so you're taking them to practice in different activities. And then on Saturday, you have about a quarter of a tank left and you need to go, say, 150 miles, and your car says you can only go 100, but you say to yourself, I'll just take a chance. So you go ahead, you get on the highway, and then you're driving and your car stops. And that's kind of how sleep is. You can't just keep going and going without adequate sleep. Eventually your system will break down. So it's so important that we get adequate sleep because it helps to conserve energy. It's a time for cell repair and regrowth. And also we have waste removal from our central nervous system, and toxic byproducts are being removed from our brain at the same time. So it's also important for maintaining a strong immune system. And I know when I used to travel a lot, especially going to a different time zone, sometimes I would have trouble sleeping. And so I would notice it felt like I was coming down with a cold, and I'd find myself having to dose up on vitamin C just to build my system up because I was affected by not having adequate sleep. And also, when you don't get adequate sleep, it can have an impact on your hunger hormones, ghrelin, which basically tells you that it's time to eat to fuel your body, and leptin as well, which tells you your body to stop eating. So these are known as, I would say, the major hunger hormones that are out there, but these have an impact on our sleep. So I have a question for you. If you could put in the chat for me, and this is just guessing, how much sleep does the average adult need each night? If you could just put that in the chat for me, I would greatly appreciate it. I'll give you a moment. Okay, I'm seeing 7 to 9, 8 to 9. And on average, they recommend about 7 to 8 for an adult, 7 to 8 hours of sleep. However, there is a condition called short sleeper syndrome, and this is a very small percentage of the population that need less than 7 hours. Sometimes they'll get 3 or 4 hours. And most of the time, this condition is found when they're younger, not so much as an adult, but they're able to function as normal without having to take any supplements. But again, for most people, we're going to need 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and everyone's different. We have to keep that in mind. As I mentioned to you in functional nutrition, the thought process is about bio-individuality. So some people can sleep 6 hours, some people need 9 hours, but again, on average, 7 to 8 hours of sleep, but your goal is to get adequate sleep. So I just want to share some restful sleep tips for you. When it comes to bedtime, if you find yourself having trouble sleeping, come up with a bedtime routine and ritual by going to bed at the same time each night, especially if you are someone, and I used to do this myself, that will just work and keep working until it's done. I've had to learn how to just cut it off and just start to prepare myself for bed a little earlier. So if you're going to go to bed at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, just make sure you're doing that consistently. Turning down the overhead lights is so important as well, and using lamp light because it helps to prepare yourself for bed. We have our natural circadian rhythm, which is our sleep-wake cycle. So when you do this, it just sort of prepares yourself for that. Also, you want to, before you go to bed, at least within an hour of going to bed, just not look at your phone, your laptop, your computers, because it emits blue light, and blue light has been known to throw off your circadian rhythm. Also, massage is good if you have a significant other, or you can massage yourself. You can use things like essential oils. One of my favorites is lavender. That's sort of my go-to oil for many things, but it definitely has a relaxing effect to it. So massaging your shoulders, wherever you feel you need to relax. We carry a lot of tension in our shoulders. And also making sure you have a quality essential oils, because they all are not the same. Organic or a brand such as doTERRA are really good essential oils you can use. Herbal teas are good as well. Lavender, chamomile are really good teas for bedtime. And one of my favorite teas, though, is a Trader Joe's brand. I think it's called Well Rested. It has things like, I believe, chamomile and lavender in it, as well as passion flower and some other relaxing herbs. But those are some things that you can do to help you with getting better sleep at night. And if these things don't work, that could mean you have something else going on in your body. You could have some sort of hormonal imbalance. It could be your blood sugar levels. So again, these are just some tips that you can try if you are having an issue sleeping and staying asleep. Now, exercise is so important. And a lot of people think, I hear people say, well, I don't want to get started on a program because I don't really have time to exercise. Exercise is important. It's a part of it because it helps release toxins from our body. It helps with our heart health, with circulation, with digestion, and so many other things. But it's just important that we get in exercise throughout the week, at least 150 minutes of moderate aerobic activity or 75 minutes of vigorous aerobic activity a week, or you can do a combination of the two. And I always recommend to people, if you have not been exercising, start with walking. I think walking is underrated. People think that they can't get a good workout when they take a walk, but you can go for a brisk walk, get your heart rate up, and it's going to have good benefits for you. Running is good as well, just making sure you have the proper attire and shoes to absorb that impact when you're running. Rebounding is good, and rebounding is basically jumping on a trampoline, and you don't need a large trampoline. You can use a mini trampoline. You want to do this with your shoes off, and basically it helps with lymphatic drainage as well as improving circulation, and then also incorporating weight training or resistance training. And when I was talking about walking, starting out with 3 to 4 times a week for maybe 20 minutes, increasing that the next week to maybe 5 to 6 times a week for maybe 30 minutes until you build up your endurance, and then begin incorporating things such as weight training and resistance training. And if you're not working with the trainer, you just don't want to rush this and injure yourself, because once a person injures themselves, they're going to be frustrated and just give up and not exercise. And we don't want that to happen. And finally, I am going to close out with reducing stress. It's so important that we learn to create balance in our life. And I can say personally, I have been so unbalanced in my life for a period of time. And I had to learn how to create balance in my life. And that required ongoing evaluation of where I am and what I need to change or eliminate in my life. And creating balance is, I should say, an ongoing process. So you want to constantly look at where you are so that you don't get out of balance. So think of like a scale. You want to be even, but it's going to be difficult to just stay even. So you're you may be like this at times. So evaluating your life is just so important. I talked about exercising regularly, taking nature walks. As I mentioned before, just getting out there in nature is so calming. Meditation, and people meditate in different ways. Some people get in a quiet place, sit with their eyes closed. Some people say affirmations, but meditation actually helps bring awareness to what's going on within you. So taking the time to meditate, even if you're doing it for just 5 minutes a day, is really good. Yoga is another way to reduce stress, as well as deep breathing. And deep breathing is often done, I should say, in yoga. You're doing a lot of deep breathing, breathing in and breathing out. And that's something I do when deep breathing, when I feel like I have a lot going on. Sometimes I'll just take a moment and just breathe in for a count of 4 and slowly let it go. And I'll do that a few times and find myself back in a calm state. Listening to music has been known to be very, very calming and therapeutic. And most importantly, I would say this is a big one, establishing boundaries, because I have talked to so many clients that deal with so much stress because they have not established boundaries. And when I say establish boundaries, I'm talking about with friends, family members, a significant other, even in the workplace, letting people know what's important to you, what you will tolerate, what you won't tolerate, and definitely doing it in a very respectful manner. It's your responsibility to communicate that to others. It's not your responsibility on how they respond to it, but when you do things in a tactful manner, most of the time people are receptive to that. So just letting people know what's important to you, because you don't want to carry that stress with you, because it is having a negative effect in your body. But before I close here, put one thing in the chat for me that you will begin to do, if you're not doing it now, to help reduce stress in your life. If you could do that for me real quick. And I'll give you just a moment. Or if there's something that you're already doing right now to relieve stress in your life, that is good as well. I see people have nature walks, great deep breathing, jumping on a trampoline. I actually find it to be fun anyway. I kind of feel like a little kid when I do it. But that's really great. Again, it's just so important that we reduce stress in our life. And I like to end with this here. If you don't make time for your wellness, you'll be forced to make time for your illness. And I say this because you really can't put a price on your health. And I meet so many people that say to me, I know I need to take care of my health. I know I need to exercise. I know I need to eat right. I see them a year or two later, they're dealing with some sort of chronic issue or illness. And it's something that could have been prevented if they made the decision to be the captain of their health. So I just want to encourage you, whatever you do, make sure that you prioritize your health and wellness. So as far as my process in working with me, 3 simple steps: scheduling an appointment. I create customized plans because, as I mentioned to you, in functional nutrition, it's all about bio-individuality. And from there, clients can begin their journey to better health. And I also offer a complimentary coaching session for a 60-minute complimentary coaching session. And I'll put the link in the chat for you, or you can schedule a call with me. So that is an option. In terms of connecting with me, you see my website at www.happinessandnewcoach.com. You can call, you can send an email at ksmith@happinessandnewcoach.com. And I am also on social media, on LinkedIn, Facebook, as well as Instagram. So that concludes the presentation for today.